Hey friends, real quick before I get into the main topic of today's video, the marathon gameplay reveal is soon. Expect a proper first impressions video following a couple days after because I like to simmer on my thoughts. Not to mention that although Bungie has reached out for the creator program and whatnot, I'm not jumping on board with that until I absolutely know that I like or dislike the game. And it can be a fantastic game and I just not like the genre and choose not to play it and choose to continuing covering Destiny content, or it could be fun and I just play that mostly instead with a little Destiny content here and there. I don't know what the future looks like, but we're going to find out real soon. With that said, let's get back on track. Today's video is about the Exalted Truth hand cannon. There are double drops enabled in trials, but say it with me now. You don't need an adept weapon. You don't need to go flawless to enjoy trials. You don't need an adept roll to get a god roll. All it effectively does is save vault space by having double perks and give you a better chance of walking away with something you actually want. So the last time Exalted Truth was here, I experimented with so many rolls. I'm talking I had like 30 vault spaces of subtly different Exalted Truths, and I tried pretty much every combination you can think of, and I even deleted one that I really want right now, so I have to go get it back. Thank you, no crafting. As far as the roll recommendations, the topic of today's video, you're pretty much looking for 4 variants. The Daily Driver, the Slide Magnificent Howl, the Anti-flinch, and the Withering Gaze utility roll. Starting off with the Daily Driver, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's supposed to be your Rose in the energy slot. Basically, if your loadout is a 140 hand cannon plus a pellet shotgun, you're better off going Rose just because Rose is overall a better hand cannon, but in the future, there might be a kinetic slot special weapon that pairs with Exalted Truth. Then Exalted Truth has to compare itself to Palindrome and other energy hand cannons. To me, I really just decide based on the element to save on mod space on my armor, but that's just me. Now, as far as what perks, I prefer Slide Shot over Lone Wolf just because of reloading so much. I'm always the only one shooting barricades, lightning grenades off the wall, and then I still have to have enough bullets to fight the entire enemy team by myself, so Slide Shot is very non-negotiable. However, on this specific hand cannon, it has the Suro Synergy Origin trait, which gives you anti-flinch for manually reloading. It also works with marksman dodge, so that's what I'm building into, which means I don't have to rely on Slide Shot, which means I can run something else like Lone Wolf for aerial effectiveness, moving target for strafe speed, or keep away for extra range. If you do go for Lone Wolf, try to go for extended mag or steady rounds to boost that aerial effectiveness even further. As for the other perk column, you can't really go wrong with Opening Shot or Eye of the Storm. Both are going to feel fantastic. There is a counter synergy with Opening Shot where shooting the bullet to manually reload loses the opening shot, and then there's also Eye of the Storm. By the time your handling boost goes away from the origin trait, Eye of the Storm is probably kicking in, so it feels very snappy. You can go a lot of different routes with this. The second perk combo I recommend is Slide Shot Magnificent Howl to make getting those high stacks of Magnificent Howl before manually reloading even easier. And because this can be an adept, you can also roll your Daily Driver roll on the same weapon, which effectively saves you 1 vault space. The third recommended perk combo is the Anti-flinch setup. Run Zen Moment plus any consistency perk. Bonus points if you go high stability, since that does also provide anti-flinch, and more bonus points if you run the anti-flinch weapon mod. Finally, combine that with the Suro Synergy Origin trait, and you're looking at some of the highest anti-flinch that you can get in the game. The fourth recommendation is Withering Gaze utility, utilizing the Withering Gaze perk. Aim down sights for 1.4 seconds with the enhanced version, then your next bullet will weaken the target, which can activate things like the seasonal artifact, Echo of Harvest to make an Orb of Light and a Void Breach, as well as Stylus Executioner to go invis and have wall hacks. The background gameplay is going to show you that you can defeat a 10 Resilience Guardian by using a specific combo of body, head, with both Withering Gaze and the Precision Instrument perk. Although that sounds fantastic, it's a little too specific, and aiming down sights for a long time is not really realistic at high level play without something like Knucklehead Radar. Otherwise, it's just going to happen naturally, and throughout the course of the match, you might get more value out of just having Slide Shot the entire time. That being said, I call this Withering Gaze utility because the trade-off is pretty huge, the risk-reward. I don't know if I mentioned it, but the Fragment Echo of Starvation, if you pick up a Void Breach or an Orb of Light, it gives you Devour. And then on your class item, Powerful Attraction, allows you to pick up the orb remotely from a distance by activating your dodge. So now let's put it all together. You activate Withering Gaze, you have Echo of Harvest and Echo of Starvation equipped. You land the defeat. They drop a Void Breach and orbs on the floor. You can pick up that Void Breach first to get Devour, leave those orbs on the floor, and save them for a health pack for later to use your powerful attraction dodge to remotely pick them up. But this combo gets even crazier when you consider the seasonal artifact, which gives you a half overshield that's like 20 HP for simply landing the weakening shot. Now specifically, what perk combinations do you want on this roll? Obviously Withering Gaze, and then for the other perk, I think Repulsor Brace makes so much sense because the seasonal artifact is eventually going to go away, and then maybe Precision Instrument to artificially extend the range, give you that crit body forgiveness. But I also think y'all are sleeping on Magnificent Howl or Opening Shot with Withering Gaze. High level PvP is often played one bullet at a time while people set up crossfires and get angles, so getting hit by an opening shot or a Magnificent Howl is going to chunk them from a distance that they are just not expecting. It's sort of like having a 120 RPM hand cannon and a 140 RPM trench coat, except when somebody flies at you with a special weapon, you have a 140 RPM hand cannon, which is a slightly faster time to kill, which means you might live. Final thing to mention about Exalted Truth Withering Gaze is that I do not recommend it in PvE because there are far better options. You can always just focus engrams at Saint 14 if this role ever becomes relevant in the future. I think Word of Crota is a superior Void hand cannon. And if we're talking Withering Gaze weapons, you're just going to use the special ammo variants like the Void Sidearm or Void Fusion Rifle, which have better damage combos if we're talking boss rotations or killing champions. I could see a future hand cannon seasonal artifact making this somewhat relevant, but even then, just save the Trials engram, save the vault space. Also, by the time an artifact like that exists, we'll probably have another Void hand cannon that happens to roll Withering Gaze and might even be craftable, so I just wouldn't waste the time on it. Ultimately, I think you're going to have 4 to 5 rolls in the vault. Hopefully you get lucky with your double perk RNG, going for 7-win lighthouses, or turning in ciphers to Saint 14. Ideally, you combine your daily driver and your slide Magnificent Howl roll into the same weapon. Then, your anti-flinch roll should just sit there for when you're really tired of getting shot by Ace of Spades. The final 2 rolls will both be Withering Gaze. One has Precision Instrument, then a consistency perk. The other has Repulsor Brace and Magnificent Howl on it at the same time to double up as a PvE option. Maybe in the future you do some Lucky Pants shenanigans where you have a whole mag of Magnificent Howl and use the first bullet to weaken. Okay friends, that about wraps things up with role recommendations. I don't have any tips for the map. I am still fairly new to the map. However, I will tell you the meta is very absolute. Just switch weapons to fit the convenient distance and pray.